Pull yourself together, L4.
What? I've got a primp. I was going to say a fucking Leo. Oh, I did say a fucking Leo. Yes, I'm a Leo. Got a primp. Got to make sure my lippies looks good.
Yes, and I'm waiting for this fly to come back again.
Welcome to February, everyone. Welcome to In Bulk, and in the Pac Northwest, we're in our 60s.
The plants are confused. The bugs are confused. Everything's confused. My wardrobe is confused.
My wardrobe's gotten way too big for me with all the exercising and life changes going on for me.
Man,
my life, I'm just dropping the pounds. Oh my God.
I want to thank everybody for coming today. This is a rather sacred episode for Jaymi and I.
It's not just sacred, but it's been like, since our last kind of teaser last month of certain things, it was kind of, forced upon us.
It was. This definitely was a viewer suggestion. I mean, they really had to twist our arms to get us to do it.
It wasn't a viewer suggestion. It was a goddamn demand, considering people kept asking questions. Consider people were, and I'll give a hint, considering we were trying to talk about certain things, and the conversation went kind of towards what we're going to do today. So now we're
demands. So we're talking about where the metal meets the paper, folks.
Pens. Nibs. Yes. Fountain pens. Fountain pens. And, well, I mean, like, it doesn't always have to be a fountain pen. Like, there are refillable roller balls. I dropped mine on my hand. Thankfully, it doesn't have anything. But, yeah, I mean, you can actually get refillable roller balls to use fun inks with. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of fun. I haven't explored them yet, but the idea intrigues me. But I'm like, if I'm going to take the time to refill something, it's going to be a fountain pen, hands down. So
I agree.
Before we start going into all the wondrous world of nibs, I need to ask you an important question. Why?
Yes, I'm wearing underwear.
Why? Why do you love nib? Why do you love fountain pens?
Karen. Yes, we didn't get to that today or last time, but yes,
but don't worry, we're dipping in the nibs.
We're dipping in, so to speak. God, okay. So you asked me why fountain pens, or why pens?
Yeah, why fountain pens? Why?
Why pens? Because I'm a writer. Number one. Why fountain pens? So this isn't my first dip into fountain pens. Back in the aughts, when I was still living in Vancouver, Washington, I was gifted a fountain pen. I think it had a medium nib. And I had no idea how to use it. This was kind of like before we had really good videos on YouTube or channels like the Jamber'ee on YouTube to watch and learn things from. And I sucked at filling it up, and it was scratchy. I didn't, understand nibs, and especially for a left-hander, it was one of those things where I was just like, fountain pens are great. You could put all this ink in and stuff, and then it kind of failed me. So until 2 years ago when I, where is it? Do I have it? 2 years ago when I licked it and stole it from a certain Amber over here, and I got back into it. And the reason why was because of the nib and the fact that as a left-hander, it's hard for lefties to use a fountain pen because the idea is like a right-hander, it flows. It's like a paintbrush. It flows as you're, pulling it across the page. And for a left-hander, we drag and, take the nib right into the paper. So for me, it's about the colors. It's about the nib size. Like I prefer fine to extra fine due to my left-handedness. Left-handedness. I was gonna say left-handed nibs, there are lefty nibs. I have one. But it's the colors, it's the style, it's the balance of, a well balanced pen in my hand. It's being able to kind of feel fancy, and I got into it hard this time around. It's like started with this, and now it's $450 later. Yeah, it's an addiction, or it can be.
No, it
How about
absolutely.
you? Yeah. So why fountain pens? Why? I mean, like, why did you let me
Because
like
for
this?
me, as a writer, the connection between my thoughts, the ink, the nib, and the paper, the way it flows, there's a rhythm, and I can actually feel like I can immerse myself into the ink and into the paper and more fully into the words that I am writing and the worlds that I am constructing, or the facts that I am spewing forth
Yes.
for academic writing. But there's that connection, and for me, it's the sound, right? Because I mean, there are some that do like this great little raspy sound that's not quite scratch, but there's this rasp. It's almost like a whispery rasp across the paper, and I love that. And I love the ones when they're so quiet and so smooth, you have to look twice because you don't think that the nib is touching the paper, and you're like, how is the ink coming out? Because it's so smooth. And then I take it a step further, and then just that whole history, and I think about all the authors and all the people before me who that's how things were written. When I very first was getting into the whole idea, I had feathers that I had kind of whittled down into really beautiful writing nibs. I even put a little slit in them to help them kind of manage the ink better. And then I graduated to putting dip nibs onto the feathers.
God, jeez.
And then it was only after that I went to glass dip pens and calligraphy pens for playing, because I like doing calligraphy, but I enjoy just being able to write with them. I love being able to grab one and change the ink whenever I want, or the nib, the flex and the flow. And, do I want finer lines? Do I want thinner lines? Do I want line variation in what I'm writing that day?
Oh God, yeah.
It's a little geeky, but I love it. And again, it's the colors, it's the textures. Yeah, it's just so much fun.
And as I've gotten back into it, I love this though. When dinosaurs roamed and I was in elementary school, fountain pens were all we had to use. Ballpoints were so iffy.
Yeah.
This is a special one. This is a Schaefer pen that Amber gifted me from a private collection. I don't know if we want to say the name or not, but so this I don't use. It's kind of a it's an altar of sorts that I keep at my desk in a special holder, which is a little dragon. But yeah, back when the dinosaurs roamed, fountain pens were the only thing. I mean,
circa 1955-ish. Schaefer.
Or but then I had a Schaefer for calligraphy, but again, I couldn't use it because of the lefty stuff. It just was never worked for me. And I had a red one, kind of like that. Yeah, they made them red and blue and black.
Too, going back, and Jaymi knows, I've got my grandmother, and even my mom, it's like they used to hate fountain pens because when they were in school and they had their hair in braids, the boys would come up behind them and dip the tips of their braids into the inkwells.
Oh my God.
Horrible. But I have my grandmother's collection of nibs, vintage nibs. Because then when she went into banking, did other things, there are different nibs that she needed for bookkeeping. And those are two that I recently gifted to Jaymi from her collection. They're circa 1920s. One is an Estabrook, and the other one is Bank of England.
Let's see here. This is the Bank of England one.
Yes.
So it's got the longer hole, and then this is the Estabrook, or as we like to call Estabrook, the Estes. So this is an Este.
So look at the shoulders on that. That's just like a sexy nib, man.
I love that it looks like it almost has a heart. you know, that
That's
that's
one thing
almost a
to look
heart.
at. Yeah.
But yeah, the reason, well, there's two reasons why. Number one, Amber loves me, so she wanted, wanted to connect me. But I have a certain collection of just, and these are, when we talk nibs, technically this is a nib. This is the technical term for the nib. A lot of people think it's, the whole casing, all this, which can be, but the nib
Which
is
it can
the
be,
metal
but
blade.
yeah.
But yeah, but I have a special little kit that we'll get into all that and what I'm going to do, and maybe do some what I like to call readings.
Yes, we
But
will.
yeah.
We will probably have time for that at the end. We'll watch our time because we do have an appointment after this, both of us. And I'm just looking for something I had in my hand that I think the dog's tail just like blew across the table.
No.
So that's okay.
But yeah,
That's all right.
I mean, like my desk has no fewer than, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11, 12 pens. I don't know. But yeah, there's another throwback. Yeah, no, I mean, God, I am glad that you told me or reminded me about fountain pen nib sizes, because again, like, at the beginning, I was given one by the first company I partnered with on a different channel, DIYplanner.com, Levenger. They gave me a pen and gave me some inks. And while their stuff is good these days to this nerd, now that I'm kind of more nerdy and involved in it all, I can't use their stuff. It just does not work for me. So like my favorite inks are like Colorverse and Diamine. And I also like the Pelikan Edelston inks. But like, so I grew from this little guy. I think I've got 24 pens, and I prefer little mini ones like, this guy, just because they're more portable and fun. But for me, instead of just buying all the cool ones, or like, I need an Esterbrook, I need a Bennu, I need all the companies sponsored ones, I've been getting into nib sizes or nib differences, or finding fun things to do with the nibs. Like, where is it? We'll get into this in a little bit, but like, this is an Omniflex nib. So you can like do sort of thicknesses and change certain things. Yeah, but with all my pens, Karen, I don't need their roller balls and refills anymore. I mean, the only reason why I have this, the Schneider pen that is refillable, is because I found that when I go to conferences, I tend to write in 4 colors, and it's harder to, it's faster to use a roller ball when you're at a conference and just scribbling notes than it is to use a fountain pen. Because I've tried using 4 different fountain pens, and it took longer than it is for that. So like when I'm at a conference and I'm just like, bleh, barfing and writing and doing the exercises, roller balls or these guys work great. But at home, when I'm slower and more intentional and just trying to get my thoughts out, or even doing my daily draw in my thing, which is not the journal I thought I was going to use, that's when, to me, fountain pens are better. Or writing notes to your friends or anything, to me, there's intention behind a fountain pen rather than the speed of just wanting, brain dump.
Yeah. And I think that because we know that there'll be people tuning in and watching that really are not of the world of fountain pens. Let's go over just like some basic terminology, okay? Just stuff like, Nibs 101-ish is
okay. Let me
first of all, when we're talking about a nib, the nib is the part of the pen that transfers the ink onto the paper. Okay, that's just very basic.
Which is usually metal, steel, or even gold or gold-plated titanium. So it's usually the metal portion.
Right. And then that could also be either dip, or when you have something within the body of the pen itself, which could be a cartridge.
This is a dip.
Glass dip pen is one. Those 2 vintage nibs that I gave Jaymi, those are actually dip nibs, which very often are can be fastened either to a straight handle or offset. And a lot of calligraphers put the nibs offset for their style of calligraphy.
Well, like this couple of weekends ago, I got this little nib from Ablation, which is already kind of offset. So you set it into a dip pen or something that can hold the curved blade.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, the curved nib. And this one's kind of already offset, so you can just dip and then, write and drag.
Yeah. And then, so when we're talking about a nib, should we do the anatomy of the nib so people?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So we have the feed, which is either plastic or an ebonite, which is the part, that dark part that is usually somehow like either almost looks bristled or channeled, and the
I got
nib
another
itself, which is
here.
the metal part, sits above that. Okay, so
that's the nib.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the feed.
And the feed helps to regulate the ink flow from the reservoir to the tip.
And the reservoir can be like, it's like this, or the little plastic cartridges that you pop on with the ink already in it.
Right, the bladder-filled ones, and you can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
We're just going to be good and try to be basic. So then we have the breather hole.
I am too.
You got
this little, you can kind of see it. It's the little dot. There we go. Now that I moved my finger away.
I got it.
There we go.
Yeah. You can see that one. That's pretty good. Okay, so the breather hole is on the nib, and it's kind of closer to the body. You can kind of see where what they call the shoulders of the nib, which is where the nib flares out a little bit. And it regulates the airflow, which therefore improves the ink flow. And the other thing the breather hole does is that it helps the nib from cracking from too much metal fatigue, from when it's being pressed onto the paper and flexed. And even pens that don't have much flex will often have a breather hole. Now, I know some that really have like no flex and are really strong, they don't have a breather hole, but most do. Yeah, many do.
Yeah, I mean, you can also tell like it's cracked. The little breather hole up to the actual writing tip. That's where the ink kind of flows through.
Right. We have the ink channel is on the feed, and that is part of like, you can see like where those lines are.
The preppy has
these little grooves. They're just little grooves on the back of that feed.
And you can really see the brown ink on the grooves.
Yeah, they use a capillary action to transfer the ink from the reservoir to the slit, which helps to make a consistent and controlled ink flow when you're not dipping them.
And of course, pre-show, when we were talking about all this, of course, my mind is like the hole, the breather hole to the slit, because I'm too. I really am too, folks.
And then we have the slit, which is the space that is usually between the two tines, and it's a channel along the nib, and that's what helps the ink flow from the feed onto the paper. Okay, then we have the tines, which are on either side of the slit, and those are the prongs that form the tip of the nib.
Let me pull out my Omniflex because that'll show it a little bit better. Maybe not. It's hard to tell. It's hard to like show the insanely small little the little slit when it's. I don't know. I don't have a microscope.
You can see much on this. It's a bigger nib, but you still can't.
Yeah.
But
Benu's got a good.
So that's going to take us. Okay, so we talked about the shoulder.
Well, here we go. My Benu's got a good slit
area here on the nib. Okay, so basically the shoulder is the two widest sloped or curved areas that bridge the main body of the nib to that thinner point where the tines start coming down to the tip. And what they do is that they provide some structural integrity to the nib, and a little bit more rigidity so that the nib's not, when it flexes, so that it doesn't just break or bend in a bad way.
I mean, use enough force on them, they will bend, but you're not really supposed to do it, which is another reason why, for me, I tend to write heavy, which is why another reason why I like the fountain pens, because they require me to use less pressure and a little more finesse.
Right. And if you're just looking at nibs, a general, and you're going, oh, is that going to have a lot of flex? You're not really sure like what the nib is made of. If you look at how wide those shoulders are, when they're wider, that tends to be nibs that have more flex to them.
So, like, for example, the one that this little black one with the cats, this one's more, I think I got a fine. I think this is a fine tip. So you can kind of see that one. And then here's the Bennu that I got in the stub, because eventually I wanted to have a special someone do a grinding on it to make it more custom. Come on, right hand, play with me.
Right. And so I'm holding up one that those shoulders are super, super narrow. And this really has no flex, this nib.
Yeah. So you can kind of see between, all the different types. Or the points, I guess.
Yeah, shoulders. Then you have what they call the tipping material, which is that little tiny pellet, almost like a little ball, right? And it's very hard wearing, and it's at the very tip of the nib, and that prevents the nib from wearing down against the paper.
You could kind
of it really helps it gives you that smooth writing experience. And it's something that can help define the line width as well.
You can kind of see it when my pen upside down. It's it's very tiny.
Yeah. And then there's frequently that very fun part of the nib, which I love it when manufacturers get into this, because there's so much you can do with it. And that's the imprint. So very often when you're looking at a nib, you will see on there some little design or the logo of the company who made the nib, but there are more and more.
Like this one's a Schrodinger's cat kind of nib.
They might have a cat on. They might have a smiley face. I've seen dogs. So it's really fun. It's just a fun little flourish that nib manufacturers are really, I think, starting to glean onto more and more.
Or even those that work on nibs, which are called nib meisters. Like I got last year at the Pacific Northwest Portland Pen Show, a company put out a special limited, for that show only nib. So it's got a Portland flower on it and stuff, but it sold out within 15 minutes. Yeah, the Portland Rose with, I think it's got PNW. Yeah, it's got the rose in this, says PNW 2025. So they put a bunch of them online, for those of us that went and couldn't get one. And then you can get what is called a grind, which is where the tip gets designed to better fit your needs. And these little guys in their little encasings here, depending on the type that you have, this is known as a Jowo number 6. This in my left hand is known as a Bach casing. So not all of these little cases are, the same. So you got to find pens that'll take, these different holders, and then you can put them and change them on your pens. So your pens, if you have a single pen and you're able to change out the different nibs, you can start your own collection of sizes, styles, and shapes. And I tend to keep, I have a little pill pen, pack here that I've got.
And it's such a great way. Yeah. It's a perfect
hold
way
all
to
that
keep
stuff.
Nibs.
Or extras. So like I said, with my collection, I didn't want to buy all the manufacturers or, something, because that gets really expensive. Instead, I went for nib types. Like Amber and I've been showing extra fine or Omniflex.
Excuse me while I bend up here for a second.
Yep. Or dip pens. So that's been my search, is trying to figure out, what the different nibs are, the different casings, or even finding fun ones like the little Schrodinger's cat dude here that has, So I put the paper in front of it. You know, it has kind of a fun feel, you know, vibe or feel. And my most expensive pen now, because this is a limited edition, Sailor partnered with a company called Bungu, and they made a witch. This is a little witch pen, and it's got a little cat with a quill on it. So I, you know, I wanted that. And I mean, they don't sell just the little nib, the blade. So I can't, you know, I want to put something like that eventually in my collection of divination nibs. Yes, I said that
Yes.
right. Divination nibs.
Yes.
Nibs, nibs, nibs.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the nibs. We went over that. There are some basic. I'm going to go just with 5 basic nib shapes. Okay, just to help everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the round, or also known as the ball, and that is like the most common, and it is really good for beginners. It's very versatile. It produces a very consistent line width in all directions, whether it's, you know, up and down or back and forth. And they're smooth and they're steady and can be very easy to write with. So that's just kind of your basic. If you're going in like the preppies, okay, the platinum preppies, ball tips, little flex, ball tips.
But these are great. Like my little kitty preppy, they also make them in patterns and stuff, and a lot of them sell out because they do limited runs. That's the hard thing about getting into fountain pens, is like the limited edition stuff, like only 1,000 made or something, and, you know, or expenses, or hand painted things. Like, here's my Cthulhu Bennu. You know, you're like, oh God, I need that, and I need it yesterday, and yet I don't want to spend like I have not spent $10,000 on a pen, but yeah, $10,000 for a limited edition pen from Japan or something is not unheard of.
Yeah, and it's not, you know, and it's so much of the artistry and the craftsmanship that go into those. But okay, so we had the round
material.
one. The next tip shape would be an italic, which is like the ideal for calligraphy. It has a very distinctive sharp edge. When you're writing, the downstrokes of your writing will be thicker and your cross strokes will be thinner. And they can kind of, they require a little bit more practice with writing, because you really have to get used to how you're holding your pen and the pressure for how you want.
They're also supposed to be good for left-handers. So this is a Lamy nib that I've got that has an LH, and that means left hand, but it's an oblique.
Right, and that's the next thing I was going to talk about, is the oblique tip shape. And you can make those for left-handers or right-handers. They're actually a very common nib to have in European pens. And most, if you go out and just in general, hey, go to some store and say, oh, I need a calligraphy pen, they will come out and they'll bring you a pen, and it's going to have an oblique nib on it, which at that point is not necessarily going to be shaped or ground for left or right-handed. And you can write, you know, they write fine without being adjusted for lefty or righty. That just gives you, if you do have it ground that way, it just gives you that extra comfort and ease of use. When it comes to fountain pens with dragons, yes. I kind of have my eyes on a dragon pen, and I'm just gonna let my eyes be on it because
dude. Okay, so like I have the Cthulhu Bennu because I like cosmic horror stuff, and I was a scholar of misogynistic Lovecraft, only because, again, cosmic horror and just how it applies to identity and stuff. But Bennu's got so many incredible hand painted pens. Like, they've got like a Baba Yaga pen, they've got like red panda pens, and it's just like, yeah, anybody got $10,000 they want to, you know, spend to let me buy about 10 Benus. So I, you know, some of these are for this one, you know, sitting next to me here, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, again, you know, for different pens, this is my little pen BBS 469 or something, and it's got 2. So I've got
that's a fun pen.
Yeah. So I keep black on one side for the bodies, but on the other, which is this, it has a little gold, you know, thing, which I love because it distinguish the fine tip on one to the medium tip on the other. You can put different colors in it. And this one, I think I accidentally put a gray because I thought it was going to be blue. Last month's pen colors were just wild, but I don't.
Welcome, Maya. Glad you made it.
Yeah. Yay, Maya! We are talking about nibs and pens and dip pens and.
Yeah. So then the next shape would be what is a zoom, and that is one of the absolutely most versatile nibs. It has a very bulbous tip, and I'm saying very. I don't mean like it's not like huge. It's obviously different than the small ball, micro nib tips that you'll see. And it changes very easily. It changes the line width. So it's really fun. One of the things is that artists love this pen because they can saturate an area with color. They can make a line thicker. They can do, it's just very easy, just depending on pressure and the angle they use the pen in. It makes it very versatile for artists. And then the last of the 5 basic shapes that I want to talk about is the architect nib. And you'll hear a lot of people talk about that for journaling and things. And they have a very thin downstroke and thicker cross strokes. And it's really similar. If you see people that print, like block printing, it's very similar to that classic block lettering that you might see on architectural drafts. Where they might be, talking about a certain aspect of the angle or a certain aspect of the building. And that's what it is. And if you look at Arabic calligraphy, the way that they form the thickness and thinness of the lines, they're using an architect nib for that.
I don't have any samples, and I also don't have an architect nib. The closest I have is a modified katakana, and I think you have that pen, the Jinhao pen nib, because with some of them. Oh, and there's also like some pens you can actually write normally and then upside down.
This is slightly encased, slightly hooded, but that is a very thin, like architect kind of nib. Trying to see.
There are so many cool like things you can do and stuff.
Because here we go.
Sounds like you're doing the Mana song, which of course I'm like
No, we're just
excuse me, folks.
Showing those. And then then there's a couple, fancy nibs that are out there, which would be like the music nib. Shape.
Those are neat. I've broad to use one.
It's a broad nib and it has multiple tines.
Yeah, it's cool. I got to play one. So one of my favorite nib grinders, Thomas Ong. He's a musician. He's Ong Ang. Thomas Ang. He plays piano, so he's got a music nib. And a lot of like when you go to like these the pen shows, especially from the Pac Northwest, I highly recommend coming to July's Pac Northwest pen show. I can't remember the days because my only flyer got absconded by my friend Amber with an E, and they took it home. I'm like,
it's July 10th through 12th.
Thank you. Yeah,
I just have that in my head, but also I'm gonna put a link up here in the comments for our friend Anna's company.
Yeah. But a lot of the nib meisters or the nib grinders that will help you fix pens. Like when I first got my pen BBS, I couldn't write with it because reasons. There's many different reasons why you might not, a pen might not work with you beyond the left-handed issue. And these nib grinders, nib meisters will like correct your pen, align the nib, grind it down, fix it so it actually flows better. And a lot of the times they have specialty grinds on them if you want to, like test out like an architect, put an architect on a normal, like a fine to an extra fine or to a broad type of nib width. And they will have tester pens with all their offerings. So you could actually see how the vertical and horizontal, letters look like. And yes, Maya, I had so much fun at 2025. I spent maybe 3 times the amount of money. I went in with a budget of maybe $200, and I spent maybe $500 because I also bought a pen. I wasn't going to, but I had to buy, like, you get pen manufacturers that will have their own resins, and they'll, their own styles, and you
Yeah,
want to
that's where you can
support
really
that
find a lot
stuff.
of the independent, and they call them
Mhm.
pen turners
Yep,
because
pen
they're turning
turners.
whatever material it is making the pen actually has to get turned in a lathe. And
I'm gonna
so it's
go into my
interesting.
bedroom and actually get my indie pen because it's
Yeah,
in a
the
different
resins
bag.
that they
They're back.
create, they're hand created. So it's really interesting going to the pen shows because of what you can find, very unique things. And of course, there's always going to be specials and deals, and but getting to see some of these very unique things, getting to play with nibs and even pen sizes, the body sizes that you're maybe not accustomed to. It really helps you hone in what you like, what you don't like, and the opportunity to play with something.
Yeah. So, for example, this is a
That's
Jim
so cool.
Hines pen. It's a mini. So my pen BBS is kind of big, a little bit of a standard, bigger size, but it's got a bigger nib on it, the Jolo, because I had Thomas do a modified katakana on it. But yeah, this resin, and
And
the
the
casing.
Kana grind is something that is unique to Tom. It's
Hi,
one of
honey. Yeah,
his
specialties.
specialty. He created it, so that's amazing.
Mhm.
Um,
And like another popular fan favorite, Gina,
yeah,
she or they work with Esterbrook a lot, and they created not it's not on this nib. This is an extra fine Esterbrook nib, but you can get something that's called a journaler nib that is supposed to be good for longhand writing journaling. But when I tested out both Thomas's katakana and then the journaler, that you can put it on any pen, but I just picked this up because I know Gino does work a lot with Esterbrook's. You can find, if you're lucky, an Esterbrook nib with the journaler on it on their website, but I prefer the katakana personally.
hmm
But again, you'll find when you dive into that rabbit hole of
I think you'll probably
it's,
like if you're watching any YouTube videos or listening to podcasts or something, you might hear people
yeah.
talking about the Fude nibs, and those are
Hmm.
they're wide and they're flat, kind of like a broad, but they're wider and flatter than a
Hmm.
broad even.
Yeah,
And they produce
almost like a
very, very
stub.
broad strokes.
Like this is known as a stub nib.
That's a
And
stub. Yeah. The
I was
Fude
talking
is
to,
going to be very squared off.
yeah, but I there's a lot of, like, when you're talking about like having custom nibs, or the grinding of it to fit some sort of writing style or appearance that you want. A lot of them say medium or higher. So there are people like this pen I have not used yet because I'm waiting for July so I can have it ground down into a proper katakana so I can
It's so
actually play
pretty.
with that. So there's all sort. I mean, the nib world. I mean, fountain pens, you get pretty stuff. You get the cool resins, you get the mini sizes, you get your extra large, sizes. But nibs are where it really affects the writing style, and that
Right.
is even a deeper rabbit hole.
Right.
So
And
you get
like,
your pretty
and
bodies, and then you get
right. And
your.
I happen to love Omniflex nibs.
Mhm.
And you can get an Omniflex. You can get pretty much any nib you can get in your selection if you want it in extra fine, medium, broad. Um, I like the Omniflex because of the spring that they have. They're softer to me and bouncier. And when I'm writing a long time, because all my first drafts are all done longhand fountain pen, I just
Like,
find that very comfortable. I don't get any hand or finger fatigue with that. And I
yeah.
tend to write in a style of penmanship called Palmer method, where you're using almost your whole arm, and the Omniflex for that, for me, gives me such a smooth. Yeah, that's a nice
Yeah.
shoulder flex. Um,
Yeah.
and again, those
And
were
it's
the original Omniflex ones were made by Conklin and Monteverde, and
and this is
now
a
Jowo,
Monteverde pen. So this is a
yeah,
Monteverde that I got
Jowo makes them
explicitly for
now, which
that.
is a German manufacturer, and they started doing that so there could be consistency. Um,
Yeah.
in them. Um, yeah, and then I guess I don't know, man. The flex, baby. Oh, the
Yeah.
flex is what allows you to write with variation. We're talking about line variation. That's how thin or thick a letter looks, or how
Yeah.
the letters connect in cursive writing, or in calligraphy, or even in print. Um, and they can be really good for drawing because, like I said earlier about with the other nibs, being able to, as you're drawing and coloring, having the difference in the width of ink that comes out of the pen.
Yeah. And there are artists that will use fountain pens, like even writers that want to do like Zentangles or something. They will, use various flex pens or even their other nib style pens to create these really cool pieces of art, like doodles that look like fine art to me.
Yeah, yeah. And Maya said that she's her collection's growing. She's starting to figure out
Hmm.
what she likes with shape and weight and figuring out the nibs. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
and I still get surprised now and then by the shape
Hmm.
of a pen. For instance, oh my God, I have this pen. It is a freaking chunky monkey, and I didn't think that I'd like it, but there are definitely some things that I like in it. And um it's one of the things that can be a little bit less fatigued, but this is a chunky monkey pen. I mean, put it by this is by so people are familiar with the Platinum Preppy.
Right in front of your face. Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And this is just a cheapie. Well,
oh
I
yeah,
mean, you can find, yeah,
I've
this was
got
just a
plug-in.
cheapie off of Amazon. This is the pen I stole from Amber that kicked it off all long ago. But, it's while at first it was like, okay, I'm only going to write with metal pens. So I got that one, and then I bought the Lamy 2000, I think. I can't remember. Studio. And I liked that. But then I got into some of the resins, and I'm like, a good resin pen, like Jim Hines here, feels almost like metal, and thicker bodies, again, like for me, with death grip here, the thicker bodies tend to help, but I can't do like Amber's huge pen because it's too wide for my hand. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
I love
wide
this
pens,
metal
thin
pen that I
pens.
have, and I love it. I mean, I love the gold nib is butter. I can't write for a long time with this one, so this is special for like special notes and things. Um, just because it's just a little too narrow, or almost maybe like a little too smooth in the body for comfort for long writing sessions for me. Unlike
Yeah.
I've got my little, which I freaking love, my little M2 brass pocket pen. This I love. I can write a long time with this one.
Hmm.
It is a little weightier than some other pens,
Yeah, and
but
I've
man,
got
it's fun. And okay, I know people are like, do you post your pens or don't you? I tend to not.
I do both. It depends on what I'm doing and how fast I'm going to switch it out. And what we mean by posting is, so here's a pen body. So this is a mini pen. Remember, here's that bigger one. This is a mini pen. So if you're going to write with a mini, sometimes it doesn't give you a good balance at the end that some folk like. So this is posting. Simply means you take the lid, you're able to put it on the back of the pen, and it kind of extends it. Not all pens will allow for posting. Again, Pen BBS has two pens, so I can't post. So you just tend to, or at least for me, I tend to hold this death grip in my right hand. Or there are some pens that you want to post that you don't want to. Like I don't want to screw up my little last kitty here on my preppy,
Well,
so
that's
I
just
don't
it. There are
post.
some pens that you really don't want to necessarily take the chance on scratching. There are some, there's a Leonardo pen that
Hmm.
they actually put cushioning on the inside. So people who
Hmm.
do prefer to post, they can post without taking
Hmm.
the risk of damaging the pen body.
Like the Monte Verde, this has a magnetic case, so
Man, so
which
cool.
is another reason why I got it.
Very satisfying.
See, I don't know if you can hear it, but let me put it up next to my ear and you can hear the click. So satisfying. But it posts because they made a place for it to post on the back here. So it's not going to interfere with the purple.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't post. It depends on the pen and how, like I said, if I'm just going to make a quick note with something, I'm not my blue pen, I'm not going to post it. But if it's a longer writing session, I'll use one of my, like this is more for desk note takings, my commonplace book. But if it's a longer session, I'll, post. I'll pick a pen that I can post that's comfortable to write for longer sessions. Esterbrook has, for their pens, their caps, they have a little springy bit on the inside. So it's not magnetic. You still have to screw it, but it's kind of a nice comfort thing so that you don't, harm the nib. So a lot of companies will do other interesting things in their caps to prevent spillage, ink spillage, other stuff. One of the pens I've been using out of my collection a lot has been this Pilot Kakuno pen, which is actually really a fun pen. It writes so well. It's also I'm going to say sub $25. I got it for like, I think I got mine for like $12, but with the new administration and all the BS of, import fees and all that stuff, I'm not going to say the T word, but T word.
Karen just ordered Jamber'ee with rose gold trim. There are some pens with that rose gold trim that are just tasty.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I have a rose gold pen. I don't have a 14 karat gold pen nib yet. Yes, you can get again, that's one of the reasons why fountain pens cost so much is sometimes they'll use really, really good quality metals. This, I think, this is not 14 karat. It's just, it has a gold little band around it just for, I'm pretty sure just pretty's sake. But I think, let's see here. I'm not even sure. I think this might just be a black, not gold maybe, or not. I don't know. But this is a $450 pen. But I only really got it because A, it's a mini, and B, I love the cat and the quill on it. Because that's where my mind goes. Being a Leo, I'm like, kitty's pretty, mini. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the gold alloys are very different. You can get gold plated nibs. I've got a couple gold plated nibs, and I really think that the gold plating does offer that interesting softness to the ink flow and writing experience over the steel. But the steels that they make now are just amazing too.
Yeah.
People, and I tend to agree because you can see down there by my name, I said vintage flex baby. The vintage pen nibs, when you're looking into like the 20s, the 30s, and even into the 40s, late 40s, the flex in them and the ability for the pen to come back again, which is considered bounce back or spring back. So it's how easily the tines return to their original shape after their flex. Because when a pen, so these my fingers are tines, when you're pressing down, the tines come apart, they come together. Yep. So it's how quickly and how easily and smoothly they come back together. And the reason that they don't make nibs like that anymore is because that they're no longer making the machinery to make those nibs.
Yeah.
And also those nibs required a really high degree of very skilled handiwork, because besides them being milled and done on machine, then after that we're looking into the very high access of the beautiful art of nib grinding, and it's so niche that to try to make the machinery to have that for modern production just is not cost effective at all, because then you're taking a pen that's $400 and easily making it a $1,200 pen.
Exactly. But it's wild, like, for let's just call them third market or specialty, like the nib meisters, the nib grinders, when I went to Portland, they had up to 4 or 5 different grinders. Like Thomas just uses like a hand Dremel and stuff. There are folks that actually have a little tiny box machine that they, like lathe on it, kind of pretty much. Some just, everybody's got a different style to how they, want to work with the nibs. Thomas was always, some folks wear gloves because they don't want ink on it, like when I'm refilling my inks, because I have spilly issues. I tend to wear gloves. I have to have almost a special shirt to wear because, and I what I mean by that, it's dumping over everything. But like Thomas, he's like, his hands are black because he's just like, I want to be hands on. I want to actually tactile. I want to know where the ink's flowing from and flowing out. But some will have gloves on. It's such a unique and specialized art form. And it is an art form. It really is. I mean, people are like, well, manufacturers, you could get a pen, each pen is going to be the same. But no, like I've seen pens where if I used like one fine pen from the same manufacturer, same body, but each one is different because of that metal, because the cuts of the metal. Yeah, ink on gold equals alchemy. I just ordered an Ellington because I wanted to compare it to the Wordsworth sexy black nibs. Yeah, again, for me, it's all about the nib or the grind or, testing out specialty stuff, which is why for those that
Sexy black nibs.
Yeah, for those that didn't see, this is where I keep like, certain nibs. Like I've got my 2025 Portland Pen Show nib here because I'm waiting to figure out how to get that in the Bennu or another one of my pens. I'm not sure which pen I want to use it with, but I have a lot of M2s. And so this is my M2 replacements. And they actually brought in a roller ball. So you can actually keep your different sizes in here. Like you could put let's say, this would be a bold or a broad.
Labeling coming soon to Jamie's nib box.
Yeah, this I got off of Amazon. This is a pen. It's a pill case, just a single, day use pill case, and it's the Folicon. I'll link it in the show notes. But I got this because it holds, the whole unit. This is what I mean by a whole unit, the whole thing. And right now, because I don't have a nice case for my divination nibs, this is my divination nib collection. So it contains everything. Plus I can pull them out individually and, pack and go type of a thing. Yeah. I wasn't going to use a pill case. There was somebody I watch on the YouTubes, Julia here. She has a different system for storing her nibs. Similarly, but in little tiny like zipper cases. And I asked her about that and she didn't understand what I meant. So I went searching on my own. And this little doohickey is really nice because, again, it's got the nice clasp, the rainbow coloring, again, labeling, labels. Storing. Yep.
And I'm going to throw, these will be in the show notes, but I'll throw the links here too. One is for, the Pen Addict, who he's on Blue Sky and other socials, but I love his blog. And we gave you the well-appointed desk before with the pen show schedule.
Yeah.
And then on YouTube, there's a gentleman that goes by Doodlebud, and very interesting thing. You can see how nibs are used. They'll test everything from, like Jamie was saying, the $5,000 pens to the surprise goodness of the $1.25 pen from the dollar store.
This thing is a champ. It takes a beating. It writes a lot. I've got two just in case, one loses. I mean, if you want to start out on a pen journey, this is actually a kind of a high quality, if you can find them. I know that if you go online, you can get a case of them, but Amber had to find them in
they'll probably
her
put them
area
out
source.
Again in the summer. As it starts getting closer back to school, they'll probably be available again. They've had them in 3 colors, this red, the blue Jamie had, and then there's one that's kind of a sage green with some little flowers on it, which I don't have that one with me. But
too girly to me. I mean, I've got 2 blue ones because, well, goth girl here. They don't have any black ones, sadly. But yeah, I mean, like, again, there's other the fun things you can do. Like, this is a little pen case from Rickshaw, just holding stuff. I've got this holds 12 cases. This is my big pen bag. And then I've got all my little minis are in my little mini case, and typically I like to try and just keep 4 pens out that are fully inked up and ready to go. But as you can tell on some occasions, because I also do project stuff. So this little guy has a non-fountain pen blue black from Tom Studio that my friend Anna got me. That's a little pocket travel, just a little not felt nib. I don't know. It's whatever their little nib are. And then I keep my Heinz pen in there because I need a color contrast for that project notebook that I'm working in. So sometimes you'll see me divvy up my collection to project notebooks or things where, I have, typically it'll be 2 pens per project, a black ink, compatible one, and a contrasting or coordinating header or title, because that's how I operate.
So, Jaymi, we shouldn't take up too much more time. And I want you to get a chance to talk about this system that you're developing, because there's so many ways that we can go about this as you're developing it.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So last year when I went to the 2025 Pacific Northwest Pen Show, I can't remember the company he was working with, but Kirk Spear, who is a nib grinder who did the 2025 PNW nib that I was holding up earlier, sells nibs, and I think blades as well as the whole ensemble, pre-made so that you can, get it to work. But they have like dogs or cats or horses or places, names, boots, stuff on that. So seeing all these little, like doohickeys on pens, of course, made me think about charm casting, which is a thing, where you take like the little different charms, like, in a way, my little necklace here with the evil eye, this is a little charm, and you could throw that and be like, if it lands in an area face down, you can read that like you can a divination card, oracle, or tarot. So I started collecting blades, just various different types of nibs, different manufacturers, or there was a box that I got off of, I think it was the Well Appointed Desk. I'm not sure, Anna's site. She's a favorite person in the stationery world. I buy from her a lot. She listens to the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast, so we became fast friends. But like colored nibs, or like shapes or different manufacturers. Like I showed you my Lamy left-hander nib. And again, left hand, right hand, dip pens, vintage style stuff. And I'm like, there's so much data just contained in just this thing that I'm holding, that you can turn it into a divination system. Whether it is like, oh, now that I've got an Esterbrook, a vintage Esterbrook, I can be like, I could go to a pen show and say to people, well, let my nibs tell you what next pen to buy. Oh, you got an Esterbrook nib? There you go. You're going to want to go look for an Esterbrook. Did you buy the Coffee Monster Co's special limited edition pen with the little emoji on it, which obviously I did. Or is there like a mini, one of their new minis that, you can buy? Or, if you have like a bunch of different types in your collection, the Bennu nib, which I don't have a nib for this that says Bennu on it, but you can always, divine, well, what is my pen of the week going to be? Bennu, or because I've got a Lamy in here, I could be like, oh, okay, well, I haven't used my Lamy, so let me pull that out, and, pen of the month, the pen of the week, the pen of the day is going to be that pen. Or, again, going with casting, that idea. I had this kind of made, I think it's a really kind of even floppier than most mouse pads, really thin
Neoprene.
fabric neoprene that I got from the printer studio. But I made a grid, and I just threw this together. So it's not like a professional, everything's perfect, but you can make a grid of all these little things on it. And then, twofold, where you can either, take a handful, drop it on there. So I should have brought my top down, but I have my body needs with a nib going this way, soul message with the what I like to call the Huron nib, but it's flat, so on the other side, and then a nib that's crossing the lesson to learn and something to release. So you can actually do readings on a casting cloth. And so my body needs to eject something, but it's also pointing to the soul message area. So, and that nib is just, let's see here, which one is this? I think it's just a silver Omniflex blade. Yeah, it's just a silver Omniflex. So I'm thinking my body needs more stretching, because my soul has really enjoyed having less weight, more flexibility. I'm eating better, less sugars and stuff, less processed food. So my body needs all this stuff because it's going to help me do what my soul message is. And my soul message is like, it's going to keep me creative. It's going to keep me happy. It's going to keep me sane, especially through with all the shit that I'm going on right now. But with that other nib that fell next door to the something to release, lesson to learn, it's pointing upwards. So I have a lesson to learn, and I'm not sure what that is yet. But this is an extra fine. So it's something, maybe I need to do something that's like fine tuning. The lesson I'm learning is very, very tweaky. Like, I've mentioned it on Card Slingers, but I am divorcing my partner of 20 years. And so the lesson on that is to hold my ground. I'm not beholden to her and her needs anymore. So I need to remind myself and keep honing in, like every time she says, I want to do this, or this needs to be done faster, or this needs to be done that way. If it's counterintuitive to me, I can say, no, I want to do this the right way. Sure, you want this done in a week, but no, I can't give you that timeline. But it's releasing up. So again, I'm, this idea of that my lesson in holding my own power and sticking to my guns is also something that I'm working with and releasing the 20-year partnership, the 20-year marriage.
It's like refining your thoughts, refining the synapses and the responses. Yeah.
But yeah, just I can't keep the nibs, obviously, but this is, my body was pointing down to here, and the one that landed was kind of upside down. So I'm trying to expose or be more present. My word of the year, presence. I need to expose more of what my soul message is. And the nib, this guy, let me pull the right nib, if I can even hold it. This guy was like pointing this way. So that lesson to learn of holding my ground is helping me with that something to release. So, just this idea that, you can read it and interpret it. Yeah, right, Karen? Yeah, fascinating. Again, I'm just playing with this. There's no hard, fast rules. I haven't made any because I've written little white booklets for tarot decks and oracles, there's no standard meaning set yet. If there is ever going to be,
I can even see where the breather hole lands on something. What needs more air, what needs more space.
Or like the fancier stuff. Like, again, you can even drop these on tarot cards. Like a lot of my charm casting, I'll pull a card or a pair of cards, fortune for the day, so to speak. And then I'll drop like a charm on top of it for like area or something, or, something else that, might end or not end, but add into, a value add to that reading. And that's where like, the little, the breathing holes or the shoulders or these other aspects, or how flexible that nib is. Like I can push up and like, oh, my body needs more flexibility. Well, the Omniflex is there, so I need to do more stretching, stuff like that you can play with. And again, if you put it on an oracle or another cartomantic type deck, you can use what's under that, the image, or, that the the symbol. God, my brain is just like firing off too fast and all that. But yeah, you can, if a nib lands on a actual symbol, you can be like, how, maybe I need to write about that. Maybe I need to use my medium or my stub nib and write about the symbol and how it's going to influence me today. Or, if it shows up in my life in the next week or two or a month, keep that in mind about what does it mean to me. So yeah, that double-edged play of helping people maybe pick a new pen or use something out of their existing collection because that nib showed up for them today and said, hey, I'm here, play with me. Or a more truer divine sense of seeing how that can lead to a message, like one of these messages or that symbol that it lands on in an image. And again, you don't have to use a cartomatic deck. You can pull out a picture book or a magazine or a fountain pen magazine or a catalog. Yeah. All the different things.
So here you go, man. Besides just talking about nibs and just the fascinating, so this is a whole divination system in the building. And I think it just helps us realize that we can find messages in the things around us, and we can be creative in how those messages come to us.
Yeah. Divinate all the things, life is one big divination. Our bodies are divining tools. Pens are divining tools. You can play spin the pen and have it land on, any given amount of names and stuff. Yeah. I don't know.
All right, Jaymi, we need to sign off as much as we can keep talking about nibs and pens, and everyone's going to have to hold their breath when we talk about inks because that's going to be something else.
Right. We'll just have to come paint our nails with different inks and show everybody.
All we have to do is just hold up our fingers after we've changed that, inked up our pens. But
yeah. Too much stuff.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We will see you in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Tune in. Have fun. Stay curious. Stay weird. We love you. Hang in there.
Go buy some pens. Go buy some nibs. Yep. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Bye.